son-in-law and I decided.
I have a motion going to close?
So moved.
Second.
About the second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion is so carried. Have a motion, go out of close.
So. So moved, second. Whichever. Whatever one you want to write down.
All right. And pursuant to the Code of Virginia, the board has discussed personnel matters, student matters, and legal matters during closed session. Matters discussed in closed session have been added to the consent agenda and other parts of the agenda as action and information items. Members of the board, please certify that only lawful matters were discussed in closed session. Board members, please respond by roll call.
Mrs. Sobchak,
Yes.
Dr. Burnett,
Yes.
Chairperson Reed,
Yes.
Mrs. McMurtry,
Yes.
and Mr. Harrow.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Let's stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next, do we have any additions or corrections to the agenda?
The finance report and enrollment and facilities use request. I move we accept those additions.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Moving properly second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion is so carried. All right, I have public announcements. Let's see. April is National Autism Awareness Month. April 26th is early release for students. May the 2nd, end of interim grading period. May the 8th, interim reports issued. And May the 8th, school board meeting at St. Clair Walker. Ms. Sykes, do we have any recognition?
We do have recognitions. And this evening, I would really like to recognize our MCPS music department. I know we have Mr. Doug Armstrong from MHS, and I know we have Ms. Daphne Will from St. Clair Walker. If you all will come down front so I can just recognize you. I don't have a prize for you. I'm just going to speak about you. Ms. Renee Shannon is part of our music department at the elementary school, but I know that she couldn't be with us this evening. And I just wanted to bring them in front of you and in front of the public. You may have seen in the newspaper that our MHS Advanced Band recently received a superior rating at the Northern Neck Middle Peninsula Area Assessment. And I understand it was a very challenging program that they had. And this is the first time a band from MHS has performed at a grade 4 level assessment in over 30 years. And that's been they may be small, but they are very, very mighty. I'll add that this is also only the second time an MHS band has received a superior rating at a concert assessment in over 30 years also. And so, Mr. Armstrong, we very much appreciate what you do there and what you've done for our high school band, building it back, especially after what we've experienced during COVID. That was especially difficult on our music programs. And then Ms. Gwill, who feeds into Middlesex High School. This is the first opportunity that our students have for a formal band class, and it starts in 6th grade with a lot of excitement, and there's a lot of work to keep that excitement going. 7th and 8th, and then into the high school level. And Ms. Gwill works very hard to do that. She also had students that just were recognized for honor band at area competition also. So again, they may be small in number, but they're very mighty. And I just wanted to recognize you for your dedication inside of school, outside of school, because many of your hours take place not just in the classroom, but in your activities outside and preparing our students. And it's the work that you've done that helps our students in our division get recognized. So I wanted to thank you both for that. It's also a nice segue into, we have some visitors here, I believe, from the Chesapeake Chorale who wanted to present our music program. Also, if you all can stay up here.
Thank you.
Nice segue, wasn't it?
So I'm Roberta Snino. I'm one of the members of the board of the Chesapeake Chorale, and I live in Middlesex County. This is our treasurer, Bruce Adams. And so, as many of you may know, the Chesapeake Chorale was formed 27 years ago with the express purpose of raising money to support music education in the Northern Neck and Middle Peninsula. And to accomplish this, singing members and businesses support us financially in order to our operating funds, whereas every penny from ticket sales goes to the music programs of the counties represented by the members of the chorale. This year, we had at least one member each from Northumberland, Lancaster, Middlesex, and Gloucester counties. So, and I understand you've already actually received the check, but this is sort of the ceremonial. So we're honored to present $1,600 to Middlesex County in support of the music programs in the various schools. Thank you for your support in the continuing education. We kind of believe in music, obviously, and we appreciate the school board helping us in all of this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions? No? And we all pile in here on the matinee concert in this very auditorium.
And if you'll wait a second, Mr. Channing will grab a photograph also.
Sure. You want me? Oh, sure.
There you go.
Yeah, let me just take my.
Love it.
Don't tell my.
Thank you.
We got it?
Thank you all for
Thank you.
coming. We appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Great job, guys.
The works.
Back some years ago, I was in band and we actually went to those performances and we never got a superior. We did well. We held our own because there were some very good bands there. But we held our own, and it is a privilege to be in that, and we thank you all for doing such a fine job. Next we have is educational highlights. Ms. Danielle.
I'm gonna say we're definitely not presenting on the calendar, Mr. Dunkel. Good evening, members of the board. Hopefully you all had a restful weekend. I invited to join me this evening, Dr. Carol Walsh, our division math specialist, Miss Nikki Nusky, who is one of our 5th grade math teachers, the cone, and Mrs. Van Buskirk, Rambo behind me. She is currently our math coach at the elementary school. Previously, she served as a 5th grade math teacher. They are recent recipients of the Flanagan Innovation Mathematics Grant. They were recognized back in March. They actually had a pretty big check they got to get their picture taken with that I think they were probably excited about, but disappointed to know the check doesn't come with you when you leave. It's just celebratory. So as many of you know, school is not just about ensuring we provide the appropriate curriculum. You have to actually engage students in that curriculum to have any outcomes. So I asked them here tonight to share with you a little bit about the grant, the process, which I believe Dr. Walsh is going to take you through a little bit of that, but then also about how we transform our classrooms at the elementary school, how we've been transforming to engage students in learning and transferring their skills, but also moving forward what this grant will allow us to do to expand that at a level to reach more students. Thank you so much for allowing us to come this evening to share with you the news that we were the recipients of the Flanagan Grant this year.
we attended the Virginia Council of Teachers of Mathematics annual conference in March at George Mason University, and we were the only recipients of that grant, and it was a $5,000 grant. So we're very, very excited about that. So what our grant is about is providing room transformations for 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade students. And the title of our grant is Room Transformations and plus Teamwork plus Real World Connections equal engaged students. So our 5th grade math teachers have provided room transformation experiences to our students for several years now. And something our teachers and administrators observed was the students' curiosity, excitement, and eagerness to participate in the mathematics activities. The students experienced how learning in the classroom connected to their worlds and beyond. The physical movement, student discourse, and mathematics shifts to areas outside of the classroom assisted our students in experiencing transfer learning, which allowed our students to take their knowledge and skills and apply what they knew to other scenarios and different situations. Our team recognized that all children deserve rich opportunities to develop as strong leaders, doers, and sense makers of mathematics. And when a grant opportunity was presented to us, we wanted to extend this experience to more of our students. We're going to share with you a few of our past room transformations to give you an idea of what next year will look like for our 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade students as they engage in mathematics and transfer their mathematical understanding to real-world situations.
Good evening. Again, my name is Nikki Nuske, and I do teach 5th grade math at the elementary school. Every good educator understands that intentional and purposeful data-driven instruction allows for our students to thrive and grow their mathematical skills as they continue to learn and grow throughout the year. With that being said, I'd like to begin by focusing on the purposeful planning and the data-driven instruction that occurs behind the scenes. Last year's math SOL test, the standards of learning test, revealed that SOL 5.8, which is area, perimeter, and volume, hence the cone, we're gonna get to that, was an area of growth and need for most students in the 5th grade at Middlesex Elementary. We believe this is due to the experience we all shared as we learned virtually together throughout the pandemic. So because of this, 5th grade math teachers, including Mrs. VB behind me, planned our first construction zone to engage and excite students about learning. This year's fall to winter map, so the beginning of the year to about mid-December, revealed that after engaging in the 5th grade construction zone, focusing on area and perimeter, students' strengths in algebra and geometry dramatically increased their understanding, and it was actually our strongest category overall. This goes to show that these hands-on, minds-on room transformations really do help them grow, not only academically, but socially as well. So on the screen here, this is how we try to set the stage to engage our students. So on the left, you'll see Zach, who's one of my current 5th grade students, after he just clocked in to his shift. And yes, they really did have to tell the time, which was another SOL we just tied in there, telling time. So he just clocked in, he's busy at work, in his hard hat and safety vest as he's solving for area and perimeter for both regular and irregular polygons. Shapes were created using electrical tape, which you can see in the photos. On the right, you'll see Sam and Brielle using their tape measures to calculate the area and perimeter of a right triangle. The center photo shows my Block 1 class smiling and eager to learn, and they were just finding out who was on their shift for the day. So they really wanted to know who was in their groups. As students grew tired and fatigued from working with their crews, they were able to take a break and enjoy Math Aid, which was really just Gatorade, but Math Aid and a dirt cup complete with a shovel spoon. They were very excited about food. If you don't have a 5th grader or know of elementary school, they love food. So if you can tie in food, extra bonus points for the teacher. But some of the extra various decorations include caution tape, which you can see, cones, station signs, clipboards, area and perimeter formula bracelets, which they use as a resource. Some of the students needed that reminder as they solved. They got a construction zone certificate. Their teacher, obviously in a cone costume, is very exciting. And the hallway was actually lined with a painted road that we made, complete with traffic signs. So walking down the hallway, they're like, what's going on? What's going? Then they see me and they're like, what's going on? And they're very excited, which makes the learning even that much better. As a teacher, additionally, one of the most exciting aspects of this grant we earned is a stipend, which helps to support the work that teachers do both inside and outside of the classroom. Any one of these transformations you see today take anywhere between 3 to 6 hours of additional planning and setup. So we are very excited about a stipend. Without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Sergeant Van Buskirk. Thank you.
Attention. We saved the best for last. Not necessarily me, but our epic 2-day SOL boot camp, which is my favorite transformation. Last year was our second year hosting our boot camp. To set the real world, which is really what a room transformation is about, is really setting the scene for them. We have classroom tents in the middle that we set up hanging from the ceiling. That's part of the 6 hours of work that goes into that. The first day of boot camp is inside, and all of their work takes place in their little tent. Over on the left-hand side, you'll see we've got MREs, which if you're not military knowledgeable, they're meals ready to eat with granola bar, water bottle. They get their own dog tags. We have camouflage bandana, face paint, and we walk the halls singing Army chants. The nice thing about room transformations too is its ability to make connections for kids, especially for this one with our military families. One of my students brought in his dad's dog tag because he wanted to share with the kids what one would really look like. In the lower right, you'll see them working on a mission outside. After they finish a mission, they participate in various Army-like activities. The girls on the top are doing an Army crawl. For our culminating events, students get camo face paint to do a class-on-class capture the flag game. That's like the end of the whole thing, which is pretty exciting. But probably the most powerful part for me is the teamwork. Obviously, we care about standards, we care about learning, but the teamwork that goes involved with the kids and working together is just so powerful for me as a teacher. One of the things we did was for students who went above and beyond, showing kindness, cooperation, they received a Medal of Honor, which you could the room was so silent when we were giving those out. They were so excited. We provided end of the year surveys for students just to evaluate our teaching, which we were doing every year. But one of the things that kept coming up is how room transformations were their most favorite thing and how they would remember them forever. With this grant, we're going to tie in surveys after each room transformation. In addition, we're going to do a video quick check in the beginning and at the end, so we're able to analyze the data. Our 5th grade math students consistently perform well on standardized tests. Over 70% of the 5th grade pass their math SOL compared to 64% statewide. 80% make their math MAP growth, which I think Nikki was talking about before. It's the one in the beginning and the end of the year. So 80% of all of our students meet what that test says that they should do. And 100% of our students are engaged. So thank you.
Around the traffic cone here. As Dr. Seitz indicated in our strategic plan, Middlesex County Public Schools seeks to develop our students into citizens who contribute to the greater good of the community while working collaboratively, using their imagination to solve problems and implement new ideas as they discover their purpose and potential is not only encouraged, but an integral part of our students' experiences. We do believe that these room transformations will support the endeavor for our students. Thank you so much.
Thank
And
you.
does anybody have any questions for us?
This is gonna move down to grades 3 and 4.
3 and 4, yes. Mhm.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And there'll be different ones, so it's not, in third grade, it won't be the same in fifth grade or fourth grade.
So the costumes are gonna be interesting.
You'll have lots of opportunities to visit.
They're always welcome.
Thank you.
We like dress up as elementary. We're all comfortable and good with them.
So are these kids also being recruited for JROTC?
For piquing their interest.
Okay.
I think what's so important too is they mentioned teamwork, but also in all of these, many of you have been in and seen some of the room transformation.
Mhm.
Transforming your room isn't a huge new concept, I think, at the elementary world. I think the difference is what you're targeting and really planning for them to apply them to real world situations like perimeter and area. Because kids will walk away and not understand, what am I going to use perimeter for, or area in the future, and having them use an actual tape measure that they would use on site. But also too, they're all so excited, and what Ms. Nutsky had referenced in the beginning, these room transformations were based on skills they were struggling in. So these were not skills that they were really excelling in. They needed a different way to approach it, and they all had a blast with it. So I think that's powerful too, to know.
Thank you.
And the basketball was great.
Yeah.
That was a new one.
Yeah.
Mm,
You got 2 new ones.
It's fun.
Well done.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you for coming out.
Thank you.
Love you, Mike. Yeah, I love it.
That takes a lot of courage just to do that.
You look good, Nicole.
No. Okay. Next, we'll now open the floor for public comment.
Dawn Moore of Urbana.
After my time for the second public comment section.
Thank you. Robert Jackson of Urbana. Thank you.
Anyone else? Public comment is now closed. Board members. Reports.
I meet, this Thursday with Bridging Communities and next Wednesday with, the regional SPED program. So my reports will be in May.
Okay. Dr. Burnett?
On the 15th of March, the Middlesex Foundation met and heard a report from Bay Housing. And we will be hearing those updates every month now as we meet. I think the foundation is getting back into action again.
Okay.
Nothing really new from this month's, past month's meeting, but I'll keep you posted. I can only say that we're looking for money. And that's probably what we need to be doing right now to support the housing effort. 16th of March, the Chesapeake Bay Governor's School Joint Board met to approve the budget for next year. And on the 29th of March, I attended a finance committee, but I'm going to pass to my fellow committee member for his report.
Okay.
So the Budget Finance Committee meeting held place about a couple weeks ago. And the meeting was well attended. Everybody was in agreement pretty well. There were no problems. I'd like to, I'm sure you all may have seen this in the paper, but the county has approved our budget in its entirety, which is not something that happens all the time. So I'm very pleased to announce that that is where we are at this point. Now, there could be some changes in that as time goes, because our gracious government in Richmond has not quite decided what they're going to do yet. So there possibly could be, but hopefully if all goes well, we'll be 100% financed, right, Trace?
Once it settles in Richmond. we
Yeah.
should- Yes.
The big guys are kind of not being too quick, but at any rate, it looks good on a local level, and that's always good. We also formed a new committee a group of basically what the folks are in that committee, the finance committee meeting, to start exploring advancement in beginning our high school renovation or rebuilding project. That's going to move along slowly and cautiously as to what we can expect and where we may be able to go, how things may be able to be done. And at this point, it's just something new. We haven't had a first meeting. I'll report back to you next school board meeting as to how that one went. But we are supposed to be able to get together soon in that committee. And we feel like that we here feel like that's a good move towards a start. Don't want anybody to get excited. It's not going to start this year, this school year, or possibly, it may be possibly 2024, 25. They have told us, and we appreciate them doing that we'll not be able to even consider starting this year, but possibly next year we'll get this thing rolling, and this is all preliminary to try to help get it on a roll. So stay by and hang tight, and we'll see what happens.
Okay. I had a WHRO meeting in March, and the presentation was on an organization called Versability Resources. And it's an organization that supports more than 1,800 people with disabilities and has over 700 employees, and more than half of them have a disability. They have services for early childhood, preschool ages, student age, and beyond. And they support training in the workplace, and they're involved, the Versability employees are involved with several military contracts and beyond. It was a very interesting service that's out there.
I will actually reserve mine because Dr. Sykes has this Hampton Roads land purchase the agenda here, so I'll reserve anything that I have to say.
Okay.
So,
Mhm.
okay. Next, we have consent agenda.
I move we accept the consent agenda. Second.
Moving properly second, in favor?
Aye.
Motion will carry. Dr. Sykes.
All right, first we have an appropriation request, which you can find on page 32 in your packet. Just for your information, the insurance recovery has to do with a tree on a neighboring property that fell on one of our fences at Middlesex High School. And that was reimbursement for the repair. And then the remainder of those funds or for the school food account, which, just as a reminder, is a separate account. It's a true cash account. And so we're asking for approval to appropriate those.
I move we approve the appropriation request.
Second.
Moving properly second. Question? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion will carry. Okay,
All right, HRSD land purchase proposal. I actually had this on here as an action item, thinking that I'll be bringing more information to the meeting this evening for you. But it's more, it looks like it's more of an update of where we are. I've been so in your last packet, you had the offer from HRSD and a copy of the appraisal they did of that land that they are interested in purchasing right next door to here. I think it's 0.56 acre. So I've been in communication with their real estate counsel for HRSD, and have shared with him that there were some pieces that you all wanted in a contract having to do with what was going to be built there for the pump station. And that included an odor control system that be installed at the time of construction and not at a later date. A generator that would be included would be located on the opposite side of St. Clair Walker to offset noise disturbance to the school. Fencing, the request was for flat top fencing, which would be sufficient to prevent intruders, and and lastly, the facility aesthetics, meaning that it would be similar in color and style to St. Clair Walker. And so I know that's been discussed with HRSD. And so I shared this information with the council, who shared that he would be able to draw up that contract once that, we confirmed that HRSD was in agreement. And so where we stand now is that I just haven't heard back from HRSD, and they haven't, I guess, given the green light for the attorney to draw up that contract. But those are the pieces that the board had shared, I think probably from your visits in
Yes.
December, based on that. The other piece that you all had requested was that HRSD would cover any legal fees so that it could be reviewed by our attorney. The attorney shared with me that he felt like they would, but again, he had to go through their layers to get that in writing, and we've not gotten that yet. And so so I'm providing, it looks like, more of an update. We've not gotten a copy of that contract with those 4 specific items, nor have we gotten anything in writing that would cover our attorney seeing it. And so I think it makes sense that we've not been able to share anything with an attorney or for you all to review any more of a contract.
Okay, so would it be appropriate that we table this again?
I think you can either table it, or you can decide if you want to give the chair ability to negotiate, but you certainly have not, we've not had anybody on our end review it to come back to you. I will say that the real estate attorney asked if I knew, I suggested that there could possibly be a counter from the school board, just because the gentleman who presented with HRSD last time said that the board could do that. He did ask if I knew what that amount was, and I told him I did not, that the board comes together once a month. And I did not believe that the board had had that discussion yet. And I did let him know that and I think this was probably a couple of weeks ago when we spoke, and I did let him know that our next school board meeting was this evening and you all would be together, but I've not heard anything back from them.
Okay. As far as any persons that would be a part of the negotiations, I have no problem doing that with you.
Right.
You know, but my thing is, do we want to table it now?
I move we table
Okay.
this action item until we have a document in front of us, in order for us, and have it reviewed in order for us to know exactly what is proposed.
Okay.
I don't think we'll be holding, I don't think we'll be holding up a thing. That's the intent. We don't want to hold up anything, but I don't think we would. Okay.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions? All in favor? The motion is so carried. Thank you.
All right,
Okay.
I'm still up.
Yes, sir.
Metal detectors policy, and that is second reading. That's on page 34. There have been no updates or changes to the policy since it was first presented to you last month.
So now we have approved all of these on second reading,
Just
Okay.
the metal detector. policy
just the
on
metal
second
detector,
reading.
okay. But I have a motion on that.
So moved.
Second.
Any question? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion is so carried.
All right, and next we have a series of policies that are brought to you or policy revisions actually that are brought to you for first reading. The majority of them are just reflect legal reference updates, code updates, and new requirements from House and Senate bills. But I will direct your attention to, I think it is 3 of them, just because there are some decisions that need to be made. And the first one is policy GCBEB, military leave and benefits. That starts on page 55. In the second paragraph where it is noted who the employee has to notify that they're going on military leave. I recommend that that's the human resources specialist. We have that new position in our division now who does handle all of our leave. In paragraph 5, where it speaks specifically to any supplemental pay that the employee would be entitled to. And what this paragraph references is if the in their National Guard or Reserve component. If they are not paid the same amount as if they're paid in the school division, that there's supplemental pay. And what I recommend for this paragraph is that when you come down to about the third sentence and it says absence from employment receives supplemental pay if the employee's military compensation is less than the regular salary paid to the employee by the school division. I recommend adding an additional paragraph in there that says the supplement will be equal to the difference between the employee's military base pay and the employee's current base pay salary at the time of commencement of active duty military leave. Employees must submit copies of their military pay statements to the human resources specialist to receive the supplement. The current policy reads that if their military pay is less than their current pay, they would receive 50% of their, let's say, teacher pay. It's more appropriate that that we make up the difference and that we give them what they make them whole on what they would be if they were continuing to teach or be an employee with our division and not an additional 50%. I think that's more appropriate. We researched some other policies and found the same. So that would be my recommendation there. For that paragraph, with reference to the health benefits piece, when we note who they work with on that, and again, that would be the HR specialist. That's who handles that for our division. And then on page 56, there's a piece that if they want to continue to participate in our group health plan, that they would be responsible for the following payments. You make that decision, and I recommend keeping that the same as what it is in our current policy, in that it's 100% of the full premium under the plan if they chose to stay on the school division's health insurance plan, because currently that's a payroll deduction. And they would not be receiving, they would not be receiving pay unless it was a supplemental pay. So those are the pieces that the board has to decide on for the military leave and benefits provision. And I think we can go through all of these at one time, so we'll do that. All right, so the next one is policy GCI, professional staff assignments and transfers. There are two options here. First one is on page 62. It is option 1, which is what we are currently using. I do recommend that we stay with option 1. The decision there is that if with reference to an employee seeking a transfer assignment, originally the policy said that they would notify the superintendent, copying the current supervisor no later than April 1. We request that we back that date up to, or move that date up to March 1. It would allow the administration, if someone is requesting a transfer, more time to make those arrangements and plan for the next year. So that's the only thing that would be different in that policy. And then the third policy is policy IKFD, alternative paths to attaining standard units of credit. And that one begins on page 81. And I think most of what has to be decided here, I am suggesting there's one new piece. I am suggesting that we stay with what our current policy reads. The first one is on page 81 at the bottom of the first paragraph, where you're identifying the total number of standard credits that can be achieved via the waiver. Currently, we have that as 8, and I recommend keeping that as 8. On page 82, you have to identify the criteria for a student to be eligible, and I recommend keeping that the same as our current policy, which you can see on page 88, and that is evidence of ability, past scholastic achievement, cooperation of the individual student and his or her parent or guardian, and students' demonstrated readiness. And then additionally, on page 82, you choose whether the students will receive a grade or not. I recommend keeping that the same as the current policy, that students receive a grade for a course, but it is not noted on the transcript that the students received a waiver for earning those credits. Again, I recommend keeping that the same as the current policy. And then,
Can I ask a question about
yes, ma'am.
the other option is pass fail. I assume a grade is better for transcript.
On their transcript. And I'm glad you asked a question, Ms. Sojak. Please stop me and ask questions as we move through, because I will tend to just keep moving through them. And then on page 84, if the student are choosing the third option, which is to take a national or international assessment, you have to note how many times the student may attempt to achieve a qualifying score and how many times per year. Dr. Bishop and I went through this and agreed that we were recommending 2 attempts for a qualifying score within the year. And then the last piece for there is an option for an appeal process. Again, keeping with the current policy, the recommendation is that the decision of the review panel would be the final decision. It goes to an appeal. And so those are, that's the last policy that had some decisions for the board to make. Again, all the rest of the policies just included some legal updates or code reference updates.
I have a question.
Yes.
The fines and fees and charges policy requires, there are a lot of blanks in there.
And so we'll update those in July. We can look at that one.
It's on page 92.
Okay, I think I forgot to note that one. I had notes on that one too. So recommend that we keep the current language in the policy, which is on page 95, that a list of fees be added and approved annually at the July school board meeting. That's what we've done in the past. That gives time for the school year to end and the principal to determine what updates, if any, need to be made to fees. We used to also update lunch and breakfast fees at that time. Currently, that has not been necessary because we're community eligible. But thank you for bringing that one up, Dr. Burnett. I've left that one off my list for a decision. But I do recommend keeping that language in there that is updated at the July school board meeting and approved at the July school board meeting.
One more question on the military leave policy. If a staff member or teacher goes on extended active duty, is there any disadvantage to keeping them and their family on our policy when, in that case, I believe, the person would become eligible for the health benefits through the military relationship?
Was your question, is there any benefit to them or is it benefit to
Any
us?
benefit to us?
I don't think Karen could probably answer that there would be any benefit to them staying on our, so if they were on extended military leave and they qualify for TRICARE, which would be
Yeah,
free to them at that point.
right.
It would not be detrimental to us for them if they come off during that time and then come back on. I mean, it counts as a qualifying event that they can do at any time.
Okay, what I'm thinking of is, I guess TRICARE would become a primary policy and we would become a secondary.
I think they would come off of ours completely.
So would the military cover their family? I would
Yeah.
think.
Yes, it
21
would.
days, is that what
Yeah.
it comes off? The policy says 21 days is the maximum for paid military leave. 20 at day 22, did they come off our policy?
We would work through with that provider. Always,
Okay.
those types of things are, individual.
And their
basis.
family too would come off, right? Okay.
Having been an employee that took advantage of that, when my husband was Coast Guard and called back to active duty when he was in the reserves, it was seamless for me as an employee. I was teaching at that time and was able to come off of the school's insurance and go on to TRICARE. And then come back on when I needed to come back on.
With equal coverage, probably.
Better coverage
Better.
in the military. Yeah, so it's like you can always try to take advantage of the military.
Okay.
Yeah.
This isn't a question, it's just a suggestion. The evaluation of the superintendent not that it has changed a great deal in this policy, but I wonder if this would be a good time for us to evaluate our own instrument that we use and make sure that it's in compliance with the current policy.
I think that's a great suggestion, and I do think that is needed.
And we will have to get together
Okay,
on a later date and go through this, and we'll
Okay.
come up with what we need to come up with too.
all right.
So if there are no other questions, that's all I have for the policy revisions on first reading.
Okay,
I move we accept the policies as stipulated by Dr. Sykes with her either changes or additions to on first reading.
do I have a second?
Second.
Moving properly second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion is so carried. Okay. Next we have is informational items, instruction report, Dr. Bishop.
Yes, members of the board, Dr. Seitz, this month was, military, excuse me, talking about military. Middlesex Elementary School had the Book Madness, a tournament of books. Kathleen Velez won. We, basically the staff, read children's books to the students at elementary school, which was an awesome way to end our month right before spring break. And then the MHS students, the high school students came over to MES to read for the students as well. So it was a big literary month for our students. All students at St. Clair Walker and the high school participated in the court services regarding the consequences for behaviors that are would possibly be legal infractions. And so that was a very good presentation by that department from the Department of Court Services. Again, our Schools to Watch celebration at SCW was fantastic, but not only that, the entire day was filled with STEM activities throughout the entire day for the students to be collaborative, creative, and think of science. And the Compass Academy, they're planning the tour for the oyster seed holdings on Gwynn's Island coming up. So excited for that field trip as well. So a lot of good stuff is happening at Middlesex. That is my report.
Thank you. Okay, now at this time, we'll reopen the floor for public comment.
Dawn Moore. Good evening. My name is Dawn Moore. I live in Urbana. I strongly suggest that you all look at the policy manual for the students on their discipline, as I have gotten several phone calls about the unfair discipline practices. I commend you for bringing in the court, the 9th District Court system. But as I stated before, if you don't have no basis to go on, the kids are disengaged. I know I've heard adults saying it was good, but some of the kids that have told me about it said it was what it was. There was no reference. I think it would have been more for the administration to have an assembly with the kids, with the resource officers, and then escalate from there. You went from the total escalation. So there is no connection with if I do this, because I heard some of the other kids were disengaged and laughing and they thought it was funny. So I think some things need to be thought through a little bit. And I really think that it should have been more of a community thing. So the parents would have also been here to be able to engage with it, to maybe help that step to explain to their children what's going on. And I keep saying children, because even if they're in the high school, you know, they're still all our children. So I think the engagement part is a big thing that we're missing. And
as I was told by a student, I really think that community-wise, we would like to see what is happening during diversity training with the teachers. Because at different levels, now I don't have no problem at the elementary school, but at different levels, it seems like we're having a little bit of problems. If I say something, I know I said it. I don't have to say, well, I don't recall saying that, especially when it's something on a baseline that you know you better not have said. So I really think you made a good step, but I don't think it was very well thought out. I think starting with a baseline would have helped a whole lot more. Thank you.
Robert Jackson.
Good evening, Robert Jackson, Urbana. Since my last time speaking to this board, several Black students and parents spoke to me about the ongoing issues with bullying and racism at the school. I was advised that nothing has changed except that different students now are being bullied and called the N-word. One parent I spoke with told me that on one occasion, her child came home, went into the bedroom, and started crying. When the mother asked what was wrong, the child said, "I am tired of being picked on." My suggestion to the parent whose child attends this school was to have an open communication with the child and try to get as much information as possible about what is going on and set up an appointment to speak to the administration at the school. School districts, I've said this before, school districts have a legal obligation to protect students from bullying and to address the issue when it occurs. It's clear, very clear, that no one at SCW, starting with the superintendent, have any idea on how to resolve the bullying and racism issues at this school. If the school is unable to help, then parents should seek outside help to resolve these issues. This country has always had double standards for people of color, and schools are no exception. It is unfortunate that we do not have enough Black teachers to teach our Black students, but it's even worse when, in my opinion, this is my opinion, we have some right-wing conservatives teaching and consulting our students. In my closing, I would like to say that it's past time to take these issues to the next level. Thank you.
All right. Public comment now closed. Okay. Next, we have superintendent report.
Yeah,
Dr. Slade.
just a few things. I'm kind of piggybacking on what Dr. Bishop has shared of things that have already happened, some just upcoming things. We do have 8 weeks of school remaining and they will be quite busy. Spring sports are in full swing, so I encourage you to stop by the high school probably on any given day. And you can probably catch 3 or 4 games or matches at one time there. We have an upcoming career expo at the high school, drama performance from the elementary school. Our middle and high school will come together for spring concerts. So those are just some of the things coming up as we also ramp up for end of the year assessments and such. Our teachers of the year will be named in May. We do that around Teacher Appreciation Week. I know that you all, or some of you all, are attending the JRTC Military Ball this year. We've had 7 students participating in JRTC in King and Queen this year. We have 2 of them that will be participating in their summer program at Fort AP Hill. So those are just some upcoming things. Dr. Chip Jones, who's the superintendent in Cumberland, will be visiting this week. He's coming with representatives from Suntribe to visit our solar fields. So I'll be with them for a tour. So those are just some of the things that are coming up for us.
Any old business? Any new business?
I have something. I would like to propose that we look at amending the current calendar to have Friday, May 26th off for teacher, staff, and students. And possibly a second day due to the fact that there were no snow days used this year. There were 3 bank days after the October 19th makeup day in the calendar. Mr. Dunkel has, yep, he's got a copy of the calendar for you to review if necessary.
But,
I can make it in the form of a motion. Or we can discuss.
After some motion, then you can
yes,
discuss.
all right, go ahead.
Okay, I move that we amend the calendar to have February, May 26th off that attaches to our Memorial Day holiday. Definitely, and possibly a second day.
So you're just speaking of May 26th.
Definitely.
All
And
right,
if there's,
we have a motion. Do we have a second? Any question?
Dr. Seitz, do you have a recommendation?
I'll give you the details of what we have. We have a 177-day calendar for 22-23. And to Ms. McMurtry's point, we didn't have any missed days for this school year. So even though our calendar says bank days, they're kind of technically not bank days that are in there. We do go above we use the 990-day calendar instead of the 180-day calendar. And so we have sufficiently, we'll go over the 990 days. Hours, sorry. Feels like 990 days. 990 hours. We will definitely go over that. And so the way it looks is I certainly say that it looks like, well, there's those days that we didn't miss that we'd like to have back and have off. I think to make it more clear is that, yes, there's extra hours that we go in there. If we only went 990 hours, I think by April 28th will be the last day of school or something like that. And so clearly it's understandable why we go over that. And so you could make a decision to take that Friday, May 26th off and consider that a 4-day weekend. I don't know that would be.
The next week is exam week at the high school, correct?
Well, they will typically complete their exams, if they've got exams during SOL time. And so most SOLs are completed by that time. However, there are retakes. And retakes can be as early as the elementary school. And past years, they have extended at times into the last week of school, trying to get some students through those. I spoke with Mrs. Fleet, and there are not exams at the high school. They have SOLs the 18th through the 24th, and retakes the 25th, 26th, and the 26th could be pushed to the 30th.
If they're not taking exams, what do they do in the last week of school?
Just because you're not taking an exam doesn't mean there's not instruction. And sometimes that just, yeah, sometimes that just lends itself to more project work. That's not, may not be specifically focused on.
A lot of our classes do like end of the year projects, or are alternatives to exams. We don't usually, some teachers still do like end of the year tests, but then there's usually a project of some sort at the end just to kind of wrap everything up. So they're not necessarily exams though. That's-
Based on what I'm hearing here, I don't think it's quite fair to Dr. Sykes to put her on the spot here. And ask her to make a decision, right here, right now. What I would like to happen is y'all talk about it and then make a decision at a later date
Bring it back.
and bring it back. Because I don't think it's fair
Plenty of time.
to put you on the spot like that. So that's what I would like to happen.
It's a good idea. So move that we table the motion?
Yes.
Yeah.
Moving properly second, all in favor?
Uh-huh.
Motion is so carried. Okay,
Still get shut shop.
That's right.
I think that was it. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Several.
Moved in second. We are now adjourned.
Thank you.
Adrian.